Have you ever wondered what happens when you finally let go? When you stop chasing and stop trying to fix things, but instead let him feel the void you've left behind? Imagine for a moment that the secret to making him regret losing you isn't about begging or pleading. It's about mastering the art of emotional detachment and walking away with dignity and confidence. In this video, I'm going to reveal a powerful strategy that will have him questioning his decisions, wanting to come back, and regretting the day he ever let you go. This isn't about playing games. It's about taking control of your life and letting him realize the true value of your presence. Now, you might be thinking, but won't he just move on without me? And that's the exact thing you need to stop believing. The reality is, when you erase yourself from his life in the right way, he won't have a choice but to feel your absence. He'll wonder where you've gone, why you're not chasing him anymore, and most importantly, why he didn't appreciate you when he had the chance. This approach isn't about being cold or manipulative. It's about standing in your own power and making a decision that says, I am worth more than this. By choosing yourself, he will feel the regret like a punch to the gut, and you'll watch him come running back, hoping he can fix what he lost. But how exactly do you do this? How do you make him feel the loss without playing games or making it obvious that you're waiting for him to come back? Stick around, because I'm about to dive deep into the psychology behind this and how you can use it to your advantage. This is not something you'll find in every relationship video, so make sure to pay attention and take notes, because these insights will change the way you approach love and relationships forever. When it comes to relationships, understanding the psychology of men is crucial if you want to gain insight into why they act the way they do. Men, like anyone else, are driven by emotions, but the way they experience and express those emotions can be quite different from women. This doesn't mean they don't feel deeply, or that they're incapable of regret, but understanding the nuances of their emotional makeup can give you the upper hand, especially when you're trying to make them realize what they've lost. Keep evolving, stay true to yourself, and trust that the right relationship will align with your elevated energy and sense of self. The first thing you need to understand is that men, like women, thrive on attention and validation. In relationships, many men will continue to take you for granted, not because they don't care, but because they assume you will always be there. They get comfortable with your presence, and they become accustomed to receiving love and affection without giving much thought to how much you're putting into the relationship. This is where emotional detachment comes in. It's about shifting the dynamic and showing them that they can't just expect your presence to be a constant without any effort on their part. When you create emotional detachment, you're not playing games, nor are you being manipulative. Instead, you're stepping back and allowing space for him to feel the absence of your energy, affection, and emotional investment. Men in particular respond to this absence with a heightened sense of longing. It's almost like a light bulb goes off and they begin to realize, wow, I didn't realize how much she meant to me until she wasn't around anymore. This shift in energy can be incredibly powerful because it taps into something primal within him, his fear of loss. Men, much like women, don't want to feel that they've lost something valuable, but they won't realize its value until it's no longer there. When you emotionally detach, you are effectively triggering this realization in a subtle yet profound way. The key here is that you need to stop giving him the attention and emotional energy you once did. No more constant texting, checking in, or being the first to initiate contact. By doing this, you're showing him that your time, energy, and affection are now reserved for yourself and your life, not just him. This is where many women go wrong. They misunderstand emotional detachment as becoming cold or distant in an unappealing way. The truth is, emotional detachment is not about cutting him off entirely or being cruel. It's about creating healthy boundaries and putting yourself in a position where you're no longer emotionally reliant on him for your happiness or sense of self-worth. When a woman emotionally detaches in a calm and composed way, without drama, she communicates her strength and self-sufficiency. And that's exactly what makes her irresistible. Men are often drawn to women who know their value and don't need validation from them to feel good about themselves. Now let's talk about why this works so well. Men are generally less likely to chase something that's always available to them. They don't experience the same emotional urgency until they feel the absence of something they thought they had. This is why making him feel erased from your life is so powerful. It creates a void that he's left to fill. When you stop chasing him, when you stop showing him that you're always available, he will naturally begin to wonder what he's lost. It's human nature to want what you can't have, and this goes for men too. However, this emotional detachment must come from a place of empowerment, not desperation. You need to do this because you understand your worth, not because you're trying to punish him or manipulate him into returning. You have to be at peace with the fact that you might move on with or without him, and that's exactly what will make you magnetic to him. One of the most important things to remember is that emotional detachment isn't just about withdrawing your energy from him. It's also about investing that energy back into yourself. Focus on your own growth, passions, and desires. When you are living a full and happy life without relying on him for validation, that's when you'll begin to see him take notice. Men are attracted to women who have their own lives, who aren't emotionally dependent on anyone else. By practicing emotional detachment, you're not only showing him the consequences of taking you for granted, but you're also taking care of yourself and your emotional well-being. In doing so, you create a space for him to feel the absence of your love and attention, and more importantly, to realize that it was never a given in the first place. Setting boundaries in a relationship can be one of the most empowering actions you take for yourself. But many women are hesitant about setting boundaries because they fear it will come across as cold or uncaring. The reality, though, is that establishing clear, healthy boundaries isn't about pushing someone away or being distant. Instead, it's about showing respect for yourself and teaching others how to treat you. When done with intention and confidence, boundaries become a powerful tool that not only protects your emotional well-being, but also transforms the dynamics of your relationship. The first thing to understand when setting boundaries is that they come from a place of self-love, not defensiveness. Boundaries are not about rejecting or punishing the other person. They are about maintaining your sense of identity and emotional health. Too often, in an effort to avoid conflict or to keep things smooth, people ignore or suppress their needs. This leads to resentment, emotional exhaustion, and eventually a breakdown in communication. By setting boundaries, you're signaling that you are worthy of respect and that your time, energy, and emotional resources are valuable. When it comes to relationships with men, the natural instinct might be to avoid conflict or to be overly accommodating. You may feel tempted to always be the one to give, to put your partner's needs first, or to suppress your own feelings to keep things peaceful. But this is where the issue lies. When you don't set boundaries, you allow the relationship to be one-sided, with you giving and him receiving. Over time, this creates an imbalance where you're emotionally drained and he doesn't fully appreciate or recognize the value you bring to his life. Setting boundaries isn't about creating distance or coldness. It's about creating space for both partners to be their true selves. It's about knowing where you end and he begins, and recognizing that you don't need to be emotionally enmeshed with him in order to be close. Instead of becoming cold or withdrawn, the act of setting boundaries communicates that you have a life outside of the relationship and that your emotional needs are just as important as his. This encourages him to view you as an equal partner rather than someone who is always at his disposal. You may wonder, how do I set boundaries without sounding cold or harsh? The answer lies in how you communicate those boundaries. The key is to remain calm, firm, and clear, without becoming confrontational or emotional. You don't need to make demands or issue ultimatums. Simply express what you need in a respectful and non-accusatory manner. For example, instead of saying, I'm sick of always being the one to reach out to you, say, I need a balance in our communication. It's important for me that we both take turns initiating conversations and making time for each other. The tone and language you use when setting boundaries will make all the difference. Stay composed and avoid raising your voice or becoming defensive. This approach ensures that you're communicating your needs without triggering any negative reactions or pushing him away. Setting boundaries doesn't mean you're not emotionally invested in the relationship. It just means that you recognize your value and are unwilling to accept anything less than the respect you deserve. One of the most important boundaries to establish is around your time and emotional energy. It's easy to fall into the trap of giving so much of yourself that you lose sight of your own needs and desires. Whether it's constantly being available to listen to his problems or rearranging your schedule to accommodate his plans, This imbalance can leave you feeling unappreciated and emotionally drained. A healthy boundary here would be to politely let him know when you need time for yourself, or when you're unable to prioritize him over your own responsibilities. For example, if he calls you late at night and you're tired, simply say, "I'd love to talk, but I'm already winding down for bed. Can we chat tomorrow?" Setting boundaries also involves recognizing when your emotional needs aren't being met and taking the initiative to express that. If you feel like he's taking you for granted or not showing the same level of commitment as you, it's important to bring this up calmly and without blame. For instance, instead of saying, "You never appreciate me," you could say, "I feel like I'm giving a lot in this relationship and I'd love to feel more appreciated in return." This approach opens up a dialogue without accusing him of wrongdoing, while still expressing your feelings and needs. Ultimately, setting boundaries without being cold is about being true to yourself while remaining respectful of your partner's feelings. You're not rejecting him. You're simply ensuring that the relationship remains balanced and healthy. By setting clear expectations for how you want to be treated and what you need from the relationship, you create a space where both you and your partner can grow together without sacrificing your individual identities. And when you establish boundaries with confidence and clarity, you make it clear that you are a woman who values herself, which in turn makes you even more irresistible. When you're deeply invested in a relationship, it's easy to lose sight of your own identity. You begin to prioritize his needs, his desires, and his happiness over your own, thinking that by doing so, you'll strengthen the bond between you. But the truth is, one of the most powerful things you can do in any relationship is to focus on your own life, not his. This doesn't mean you stop caring about him, but rather that you start caring more about yourself. When you put your life first, it shifts the entire dynamic of the relationship. And this shift is exactly what will make him notice your absence and come running back with a sense of regret. The key to focusing on your own life is remembering that you are a whole person before you became part of any relationship. You have passions, hobbies, goals, and dreams that are separate from the relationship. Over time, it's easy to get lost in your partner's world, especially if the relationship is emotionally intense or if he seems to take up all your mental space. But the moment you begin to prioritize your own needs, you send a powerful message that you have a life beyond him, and your happiness does not depend on him or the relationship. When you focus on your life, it's not about pushing him away or withdrawing affection. It's about redirecting some of your energy into yourself, investing in your passions, nurturing your friendships, and continuing to grow as an individual. By doing so, you reestablish a sense of independence that is incredibly attractive. You become a person with depth, someone who is not only defined by the relationship, but by your own achievements, ambitions, and personal growth. One of the biggest mistakes women often make in relationships is becoming too available. This can be especially true when things are going well in the relationship and you feel like you want to give him all of your attention. But by constantly prioritizing his needs over yours, you send a subconscious message that your world revolves around him. This is not healthy for you, and it doesn't create a balanced, sustainable dynamic. It also leads to burnout. Because when you pour all your energy into him and the relationship, you have nothing left for yourself. When you begin focusing on your own life, you'll find that the emotional space you create allows both you and him to breathe and thrive. He will start to notice that you're no longer always available at his beck and call. You're out with friends, pursuing your hobbies, or taking time for self-care. He will see that your life doesn't revolve around him, and this will create a sense of longing. When a man sees that a woman has her own fulfilling life, it activates his desire to be a part of it, because it's no longer something he takes for granted. The more you focus on your own life, the more you'll feel fulfilled and happy, independent of the relationship. You'll rediscover parts of yourself that may have been neglected and feel empowered in ways you haven't in a while. This sense of personal fulfillment will not only make you feel better about yourself, but it will also change the energy you bring to the relationship. Instead of feeling needy or overly dependent on him for validation, you'll be secure in the knowledge that your happiness comes from within. When you do this, you also stop seeking constant reassurance from him. You stop waiting for him to call or text because you've found joy and fulfillment in other areas of your life. This shift is incredibly powerful Because when you stop seeking attention from him, he may start seeking it from you. Men are naturally drawn to women who are independent, who are not constantly chasing after them or trying to secure their affection. The more you focus on your own life, the more he will see that you are a valuable, dynamic individual with or without him. This shift in perception is exactly what will make him realize the importance of your presence in his life. The more you focus on your own life, the more he will see that you are a valuable, dynamic individual with or without him. This shift in perception is exactly what will make him realize the importance of your presence in his life. Another important aspect of focusing on your life is the growth that comes with it. When you stop placing all your energy into him, you begin to evolve. You find new passions, build new relationships, and create a life that's truly your own. This not only makes you more attractive, but it also strengthens your sense of self-worth. You no longer depend on him for validation because you've built a life that you love and are proud of. By focusing on yourself, you start to realize that your happiness doesn't hinge on whether he's there or not. You become emotionally self-sufficient, and this is what makes you irresistible. You're not chasing him, and you're not emotionally dependent on him. Instead, you're creating a life that is exciting, fulfilling, and worth living, whether or not he's part of it. And when he sees that, he'll want to be a part of it. Again, because he'll see that he is no longer the center of your world, but he is welcome in it. Focusing on your life and building a strong sense of self isn't just about making him regret losing you. It's about reclaiming your power and living your life. This is what will make you magnetic, because when you radiate confidence, independence, and fulfillment, you'll attract him and anyone else without even trying. The concept of erasing yourself from his life may sound drastic at first, but it's one of the most effective ways to make him feel the absence of your presence and regret losing you. The key here is that you don't do it through drama or manipulation. There's no need for explosive arguments or making a dramatic exit. Instead, it's about calmly and intentionally withdrawing your emotional energy in a way that he notices but doesn't fully understand. This process, when done correctly, allows you to regain control over the relationship and ultimately make him come running back, realizing what he's lost. To erase yourself from his life doesn't mean cutting him off completely or going cold. It's not about shutting him out without explanation or disappearing without a trace. Rather, it's about gradually stepping back and removing yourself from his routine and emotional radar. This can be done in subtle, non-dramatic ways, by reducing the frequency of your texts or calls, not always being available when he wants your time, and not constantly seeking his approval or validation. Essentially, you stop chasing after him and allow him to miss you without making it obvious that you're waiting for him to notice. When you erase yourself emotionally, you stop investing in him and the relationship in a way that gives him all the power. You create space in the dynamic, which forces him to deal with the void you've left behind. The absence of your emotional availability is what makes him stop and wonder. He may not immediately understand why things feel different, but eventually he'll notice that something is missing and that something is you. This approach works because men, like everyone, take their loved ones for granted when they feel that person is always going to be there. When you suddenly stop offering him your attention and affection as freely, he'll begin to feel the discomfort of that absence. However, because you're not creating a scene or acting out, he won't be able to blame you for the change in behavior. It's all on him to figure out why you're no longer emotionally available. This subtle withdrawal shifts the power dynamic and forces him to reevaluate his feelings. The most important thing to remember when erasing yourself is to do so calmly and with dignity. There's no need to make accusations or stir up unnecessary drama. Simply create space by focusing on yourself, your life, and your happiness. In doing so, you make it clear that you're no longer going to be a constant fixture in his life unless he values you and meets your needs. Making him feel the void you left behind is the ultimate goal when you begin emotionally detaching and setting boundaries in a relationship. It's not about playing games or being petty. It's about creating a shift that forces him to acknowledge your absence and feel the weight of losing you. The reason this works so well is that human beings, particularly men, don't always realize the value of something until it's gone. This is especially true when it comes to relationships. And when you disappear from his life in a way that's calm and composed, the impact is far more profound than if you were to chase after him. The first step in making him feel the void is by giving him the space to miss you. When you're always available, whether it's to talk, to hang out, or to offer emotional support, there's no opportunity for him to feel the absence of your presence. By taking a step back and prioritizing yourself, you force him to experience what it's like without you there. Men often take their partners for granted, thinking that the relationship will always be there, but when you remove yourself emotionally, it challenges that assumption and makes him realize just how much you contributed to his life. The next part of making him feel the void is to stop seeking his validation. When you constantly seek approval or attention, you're reinforcing the idea that your emotional happiness is tied to him. But when you stop doing this, when you focus on your own life and stop seeking him out for attention or affection, you create a subtle emotional distance that makes him wonder why you're no longer as invested. This isn't about punishing him. It's about shifting the dynamic so that he has to work for your affection rather than assuming it's a given. Another key element is to stop being his emotional caretaker. Men often get used to women offering emotional support without considering the effort it takes. When you step back from this role, it creates an emotional gap. He'll begin to notice that he's no longer the center of your world, and that absence is what makes him start to reevaluate his feelings. He'll start to question why things have changed, and that's when the realization hits. The void you left behind isn't just physical, it's emotional too. Finally, focus on living your life fully. As you grow, pursue your passions, invest in your friendships, and take care of yourself. He'll see the changes in you. When he notices that you're thriving without him, and that your world doesn't revolve around him anymore, he'll feel the void of your presence in a way that makes him reconsider his priorities. This shift in the energy dynamic forces him to confront the reality that you are not waiting around for him. You are living your life, and he may have missed his chance to be a part of it. This realization will make him feel the loss deeply, as it's no longer just about losing a partner, but also about losing someone who has their own strong, independent life. Real-life examples of women who have successfully implemented the approach of emotionally detaching and creating space in their relationships are inspiring. These women didn't play games or manipulate their partners. They simply learned how to value themselves, set boundaries, and focus on their own lives. Through their actions, they created a dynamic where their partners felt the emotional void they left behind and came to appreciate their presence in ways they hadn't before. Instead of becoming confrontational or giving him an ultimatum, Sarah made a decision to focus on her own life. She stopped chasing after him and instead poured her energy into her career, her friends, and her hobbies. She joined a new fitness class, reconnected with old friends, and started making time for activities that made her feel fulfilled. Sarah didn't cut him off completely, but she began to communicate less and became more selective about how she spent her time. Sarah had set healthy boundaries without drama, and it was through her newfound independence that he came to appreciate her in ways he never had before. Eventually, he began to make more of an effort to invest in the relationship, and Sarah found herself in a much healthier, more balanced dynamic with him. Another example is Maya, a woman who had been in a relationship where her partner always expected her to put his needs first. Maya had been in the relationship for several years, and while there were many good times, she began to feel like she was losing herself. Her partner's demands and lack of appreciation left her feeling drained, and she realized that she had lost touch with her own desires and goals. It wasn't that she didn't love him, it was that she had forgotten to love herself first. Maya decided to take a step back. She didn't make any dramatic statements or have a heated discussion. Instead, she simply stopped being as available. She stopped dropping everything to accommodate his schedule and started making her own plans. Maya began focusing on her personal goals, taking up new activities and setting time aside to focus on her well-being. Slowly, she began to see a shift in her partner's behavior. At first, he was confused, but soon he began asking questions. "Why don't you text me as much anymore?" he would ask. "You seem really busy lately. What's going on?" Her partner's curiosity was a reflection of his growing awareness of her absence. He started to take her for granted less and made more of an effort to show his appreciation. Maya's emotional detachment wasn't about cutting him off. It was about her reclaiming her independence and happiness. As a result, their relationship became more balanced, and her partner learned to give her the space she needed without taking it personally. This shift made him realize that he had taken her for granted, and he began to make a conscious effort to rebuild the connection. He started being more thoughtful and more engaged in the relationship. Jessica's absence was not something she created through drama or manipulation. It was a natural consequence of her focusing on her own life and needs. Through this, she was able to reignite the spark in their relationship, and they both grew as individuals, which made them stronger as a couple. These real-life examples show that the approach of emotionally detaching, setting boundaries, and focusing on your own life can lead to profound changes in relationships. These women didn't play games or use tricks. They simply recognized their own worth and stopped settling for less than they deserved. Through their actions, they made their partners recognize the value they brought to the table, which ultimately led to more balanced, healthier relationships. When you stop seeking validation and create emotional space, it's not about punishing the other person. It's about making them realize the depth of your presence and the impact you have on their life. While the approach of emotionally detaching and focusing on yourself can be incredibly effective, it's important to understand that there are common mistakes many women make when trying to create this emotional shift in a relationship. These mistakes can ultimately undermine the effectiveness of the strategy and create unnecessary confusion or tension. Avoiding these pitfalls ensures that you can achieve the desired outcome, making him regret losing you and coming back with newfound appreciation without unnecessary drama or frustration. One of the biggest mistakes is being passive-aggressive. It's tempting, especially when you're hurt or frustrated, to withdraw emotionally and then make subtle, snide comments or act distant in ways that communicate your dissatisfaction without saying it directly. This can look like giving short, cryptic answers when he texts or purposely being unavailable without explanation. While this may seem like a clever way to create emotional distance, it only leads to confusion and often results in communication breakdowns. Men are less likely to appreciate or understand passive-aggressive behavior because it lacks clarity. Instead of making him feel the void in a healthy, clear way, passive aggression simply fuels misunderstandings and unnecessary tension. To avoid this mistake, focus on clear, direct communication. There's no need to announce, "I'm erasing myself from your life," but you can gradually pull back without being cold or rude. This can be done by simply not always being available when he wants to talk, not seeking constant validation, and pursuing your own interests without explanation. If he asks, explain that you've been focusing more on yourself, not because you're upset with him, but because you're prioritizing your own well-being. This straightforward approach ensures that the emotional space you're creating doesn't come across as a game or an emotional manipulation. Another mistake to avoid is becoming overly distant or disappearing completely. While it's important to create space, there's a fine line between emotionally detaching and ghosting. Ghosting, suddenly disappearing without explanation, can leave him feeling confused and even resentful. It may cause him to question your feelings for him and may make it harder for him to appreciate the value you bring to his life. You don't want to shut him out completely, because that can leave him feeling abandoned rather than regretful. Instead, focus on gradually decreasing your emotional investment. Start by being less available without completely disappearing from his life. Keep living your own life and making space for your own goals and passions. But don't make the mistake of cutting off communication entirely or going silent. When you create distance with respect and intention, you allow him to recognize your absence and understand that you're not simply waiting around for him. It's all about finding the balance between withdrawal and engagement. Another critical mistake is playing games. Sometimes women get caught up in trying to make him feel jealous or insecure in an effort to force a reaction. This might involve flirting with other men, making him think you've moved on, or exaggerating how great your life is to make him feel left behind. While this can cause temporary discomfort, it doesn't lead to lasting results. The goal is not to manipulate or control his emotions, but rather to shift the power dynamic in a way that makes him recognize your value. Playing games can lead to mistrust and further emotional damage, often pushing him away rather than bringing him closer. To avoid this mistake, it's important to focus on your own life and happiness for the right reasons, not to get a reaction from him. The shift should come from a genuine desire to reclaim your emotional independence, not from a place of manipulation or vindication. When you focus on your personal growth and happiness, the effect it has on him will be much more profound and authentic, as it's rooted in self-love, not manipulation. A further mistake is expecting immediate results. Emotional shifts take time, and expecting him to instantly recognize the void or regret losing you can lead to frustration. It's easy to feel disheartened if he doesn't seem to notice right away. But the reality is that creating this emotional distance often works on a subconscious level. He may not immediately feel the impact of your absence or begin to appreciate your worth right away. Some men need time to reflect and process changes in a relationship, and expecting quick results can make you feel like your efforts are in vain. The key here is patience and consistency. Don't expect him to immediately come running back. The emotional shift you're creating will take time, and it's crucial that you remain consistent in focusing on yourself and maintaining healthy boundaries. With patience, he will eventually realize the change and understand its significance. Lastly, a major mistake is neglecting your own self-worth and well-being. Focusing on your life and creating emotional distance should never come at the cost of your own happiness or self-esteem. If you're doing this out of desperation or to prove a point, it will show, and it may have the opposite effect of what you desire. If you're not truly investing in your own happiness and growth, the energy you project will be desperate rather than empowering. Instead, always ensure that your actions come from a place of self-love and empowerment. Focus on your own passions, goals, and emotional needs. Make sure that your decision to create space in the relationship is coming from a healthy, confident place, not from a desire to make him regret losing you. This will not only make you more attractive, but it will also ensure that you're always acting in your own best interest. When you do this with patience, clarity, and self-respect, you set the stage for him to come to the realization of your value and ultimately make him regret not appreciating you sooner. Knowing when he's regretting his decision can sometimes feel like trying to read between the lines of his actions, but there are clear signs that can give you a hint. When you create emotional space and focus on yourself, he may not immediately come running back. However, over time, his behavior will likely shift, and you'll start to notice subtle changes that indicate he's beginning to feel the absence of your presence and the void you've left behind. One of the first signs is increased communication. If he starts reaching out more frequently, even with small gestures, like texting to check in or calling just to say hello, it's a sign that he's feeling the gap in his life. Initially, he may have been indifferent or relied on you to initiate contact, but now he's taking the initiative. This could be a sign that he's realizing he misses you and your influence in his life. If the communication is more meaningful, such as him opening up about his feelings or asking about your well-being, this indicates that his emotional investment is shifting. Another clear indicator is his willingness to make changes. If you notice that he's starting to make more of an effort to be present in the relationship, it could be a sign that he's regretting his earlier behavior. This might look like him trying harder to plan dates, offering more support, or being more attentive to your needs. He's likely realizing that his previous actions weren't enough to keep you engaged, and is making an effort to show you that he's willing to put in the work. If he expresses that he wants to improve or make specific changes to better meet your emotional needs, it's a strong sign that he's recognizing the void you left and is working to fill it. Jealousy or protectiveness can also be a sign that he's regretting his decision. If he seems more aware of your interactions with other people, especially if he seems uneasy or protective about it, this could be an indication that he's starting to realize he may lose you for good. While it's important that this jealousy doesn't turn into possessiveness or controlling behavior, a healthy level of jealousy can show that he values your presence in his life and doesn't want to lose you to someone else. Lastly, his emotional vulnerability can be a powerful signal that he's beginning to regret his decision. If he starts opening up about his emotions, talking about how he misses you, how things have felt different without you, or how he's thinking about the relationship, this is a strong indication that he's reflecting on what he's lost. Regret is often accompanied by a desire to reconnect and make amends. And when he's expressing his feelings openly, it shows that he's ready to admit that he may have made a mistake. While these signs aren't always immediate or obvious, they are key indicators that he's beginning to understand the impact of your emotional detachment and the absence you've created. The process takes time, But when you start to notice these shifts in his behavior, it's a clear sign that he's feeling the regret of his decision and is likely reconsidering how he wants to move forward in the relationship. As you navigate the process of emotionally detaching and creating space in your relationship, it's crucial to keep your self-worth high and focus on your personal growth. The ultimate goal is not just to make him regret his decision, but to ensure that you're emotionally strong and grounded no matter the outcome. By maintaining your confidence and self-respect, you set yourself up for success, whether he comes back or not, and ensure that you're always living your life with purpose. One of the best ways to keep your self-worth high is by consistently reminding yourself of your value. Affirm your worth daily through positive self-talk and reflection. Make a list of your strengths, qualities, and accomplishments that make you a valuable person, both in relationships and in your personal life. Recognizing and reinforcing your worth ensures that you never place your happiness in someone else's hands. The right partner will appreciate you for who you are, not because you're desperate for validation. Another key tip is to stay focused on your personal goals and passions. Whether it's advancing your career, learning new skills, or nurturing your hobbies, keep investing in your growth. The more you build your life outside of the relationship, the more fulfilled you will feel. This not only makes you more attractive, but also ensures that your identity doesn't become solely defined by your relationship. The stronger your individual sense of self is, the less likely you are to lose yourself in someone else. Remember, the relationship should complement your life, not complete it. Additionally, practice self-care regularly. Whether it's physical activities like exercise, indulging in hobbies, or taking time to relax and rejuvenate. Self-care is essential for maintaining your emotional balance. By taking care of yourself, you're sending a clear message to the universe and to yourself that you are worthy of love, respect, and happiness, regardless of how the relationship unfolds. Finally, always remember that your happiness doesn't depend on him coming back. While it may feel gratifying to have him regret his decision, your happiness and fulfillment should always come from within. No matter the outcome, keep moving forward with confidence and strength. By focusing on yourself and prioritizing your self-worth, you ensure that you remain in control of your own destiny. Keep evolving, stay true to yourself, and trust that the right relationship will align with your elevated energy and sense of self.